she'll have her revenge if she has to call on every force from above and below. And in this video today, we are going to make her stronger. Welcome back, Burgeonites. This is MTG Burgeoning here, and what you are looking at is Kaalia of the Vast for 1 and a Mardu. You have a 2/2 legendary creature that's a human cleric with flying, and whenever she attacks, we put an angel, demon, or dragon creature card from our hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking that opponent. If you click on the link below, you will see the original deck tech of Kaalia of the Vast that MTG Burgeoning on this channel presented some time ago. And in this video today, we are going to update the deck with some cards that are going in and some cards that are coming out. So debate with me in the comments section if you believe we made the right choices, or if we made some wrong choices, or would you make a different choice? So let's get right to the card that is coming out and the cards that are going in. First card out, we are taking out Necropotence. For 3 black, we have no draw step, and if we were to discard a card, it gets exiled instead. And for every life we pay, we exile a card that goes to our hand at the end of our turn. This is a deck that has a lot of ways in which to lose life and not very many ways to gain it. And I got to the point where Necropotence being on the battlefield, there have been times that I haven't been able to use it like I want to because of the life total dropping as much as it does. And without having a draw step, it's just not working out for me, folks. So Burgeoning is taking out Necropotence. In its place, we are going to put in Obnixilis Unshackled for 4 and 2 black. We got a 4/4 flying trampler, and whenever an opponent searches his or her library, like that ever happens in Commander, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. Additionally, whenever another creature dies, he gets a +1/+1 counter. Powerful demon, a mistake that I didn't have him in the Kaalia deck originally. So Necropotence out, Nixilis in. What do you think, folks? Next swap, Arid Mesa. It's our Boros-themed fetch land. That's coming out. It searches for a mountain or a plains. In its spot, the Prismatic Vista. With this, we can search for any of our basics, including swamps, and put that right into play. And yes, I understand that the Arid Mesa could search up some shocks as well, but if the shocks that we already have in play are in play and we can't find that black source, I found that in this deck, the 3 different color sources are pretty darn important across the board, particularly when we're trying to cast Kaalia. So trying to get a little bit more balance with the lands. And trying to get some more balance with the artifact too, which brings us to the Boros Signet. Okay, the Boros Signet coming out, being replaced by the Talisman of Conviction. I like the fact that this can be tapped for colorless if we don't need the red or the white. This, if we are just leaving it in play by itself, we don't have that 1 to activate it. This one we do. So the Boros Signet is out. Talisman of Conviction is in. And you're going to notice a trend here with the next one. Orzhov Signet out. Talisman of Hierarchy in. Same story as it was before. 2 signets out. 2 talismans in. Next, we're going to a land. The Myriad Landscape. If this didn't have, of course, it would be so much more powerful if it didn't, but if this didn't have the share a land type and put them into play, I would absolutely keep this in the deck, and probably would be in a lot more decks, that's for sure. But the restriction of it being the same land type, it's limiting in a 3-color deck. So I think we got to get rid of that. In its place, a way in which to gain some life. Vault of the Archangel is a land that taps for a colorless, or for 2 and an Orzhov, and tapping this, creatures we control get Death Touch and Lifelink. As I mentioned earlier, life loss was a concern of Kaalia. Adding this land hopefully will be a step in the right direction to gaining some of it back. All right, next up on the cut list, we have, let's see here, we're going to move right to the Solemn Simulacrum. Yep, I get it. He comes into play. We search up any basic, which is pretty much what we did when we swapped out the Arid Mesa for the Prismatic Omen. For me, this is a little bit more of taking an artifact that helps us with mana and replacing it with an artifact that could do a better job. And yes, the artifact that's going to take its place is not going to draw us a card when he dies, but it is going to tap for a mana of any color. Solemn out, Chromatic Lantern in. This taps for 1 of mana of any color, and lands we control tap for 1 mana of any color. The 3 colors in the Kaalia deck, the Chromatic Lantern is going to help fix those colors. Okay, next up, next cut, and this one, let's bear with me for a moment here. Vindicate out. At sorcery speed, we destroy any permanent. 1, a white, and a black. What's going to take the place of Vindicate? Generous Gift will. For 2 and a white, at instant speed, we destroy a target permanent. Yes, the controller gets a 3/3 green elephant creature token. In Commander, with the kind of creatures and overall removal that we have in this deck, I'm not worried about a 3/3. I'm more concerned with being able to answer a permanent at instant speed if needed, as opposed to waiting until my turn to use 3 mana to cast a Vindicate. So, Vindicate out, Generous Gift in. Alright, next up on the chopping block, Kiki-Jiki, the Mirror Breaker. Originally, I had included him into the Kaalia deck as a way in which to abuse the ETB and death triggers of some of our creatures. I'm shifting away from that and focusing more on recursive effects and ways in which to get more into the graveyard, get more top of the library manipulation and things like that. And plus, from a flavor standpoint, it bothered me. So similar to the Solemn Simulacrum, from a flavor standpoint, it did always irk me that I had a non-angel, non-dragon, non-demon creature in the 99. So for a couple of reasons, that's the Vorthos in me coming out. Kiki-Jiki out. In Kiki-Jiki's replacing Kiki-Jiki, the Doom Whisperer. This guy was absolutely made for our Kaalia deck. For 2 and 2 black, a 6/6 flying trampler to pay 2 life. Again, we're talking about the life gain, but we're hoping that with some additions, it's going to be fixed a bit. We surveil 2, and when we surveil, we look at the top 2 cards of our library, then put any of them into our graveyard or leave them on the top of our library in any order. That could set up a fantastic graveyard recursion play, of which our deck has plenty. So replacing Kiki with the Doom Whisperer, that's a pretty easy move for me to make. Okay, next up on the chopping block. And this one is a little tough because it is a card that I really do enjoy playing. And it's the Cauldron Dance. And it was my goal to try to focus in on cards that only hit a one-trick pony kind of effect. And that's definitely what the Cauldron Dance does. I mean, don't get me wrong, bringing a creature from the graveyard, giving it haste, and then returning it to our hand at the end of the turn, and bringing a creature from our hand, giving it haste, and returning it and putting it into the graveyard after turn is a powerful effect, but it's just a one-of effect. And once we cast it, that's it. It's a little bit restrictive at times. However, I think replacing the Cauldron Dance with something that could help us get closer to victory is a much better play. And for me, that's Dracuseth, the Maw of Flames. For 4 and 3 red as a 7/7 flyer, when he attacks, 4 damage to a target, 3 damage to another target, and 3 damage to another target. So just imagine if we've got Kaalia out, turn 3, turn 4, and we attack with Kaalia and we got Dracuseth in our hand. Someone's taken 7, and then we're going to be able to pick off some dorks off the battlefield, or some chump blockers, or just deal more damage to face. Dracuseth is an absolute auto-include, and unfortunately, Cauldron Dance is the casualty of that. And finally, we're down to our last 2. There's not going to be too much to discuss here. We're cutting back a little bit on the protection and a little bit on the recursion in order to get some more lands into play. And we're just going to, the Dark Steel Plate, that's going to come out. Okay. And replacing the Dark Steel Plate is just going to be a mountain. So we're upping our mountains. In addition to upping our swamps, we're going to add a swamp, and we're going to take out an Unburial Rites. Again, the Unburial Rites, although we can do it twice, it is just a one-of effect 2 times similar to the Cauldron Dance. And in its place, having some more mana, I always felt, as much as I played with the Kaalia the Vast deck, I always felt that we were short on lands, or we were being prohibited by the number of lands that we had in play. I definitely wanted to take some opportunities to fix that up. Okay, this is the upgrade to Kaalia the Vast. What say you? Are any of these changes that you would make? What would you do differently? Did I make any wrong decisions? Tell me about it in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. In the interim, folks, this is Burgeoning and Kaalia, my very first commander ever, way back in 2011, and we are out.